into it. Now, we're going to start off like this. I usually say if you're carrying a gun, this segment has a little twist to it. I usually say if you're carrying a gun, you should also have a cell phone too, as well as some other things. But today we're going to focus on the phone aspect of it. In this day and age, a cell phone recording can be a blessing or a curse. So we're going to be talking with Ross here and get his expert opinion as to, we're going to review some situations that have happened where the cell phone video recording plays a major factor in either finding someone guilty or getting them off the hook. Now I'm going to read to you this article real quick that raises my eyebrows to whether this is a case of blessings and curses at the same time. So let me read it to you, and then Ross will get your expert opinion on this. Here's the headline. Mom says police offered to drop charges against sons in exchange for video. Right there, that just hits me wrong. A woman said police in the Dallas suburb of Arlington offered to drop charges against her 2 teenage sons in exchange for cell phone video she shot that shows the offers needlessly pushing their older son to the ground and arresting him. At a news conference Thursday, Latasha Nelson said 2 police officers told her they would give back her cell phone, which she said was illegally seized during the July 3rd incident after she surrendered the video. Her attorney, Kim T. Cole, said the officers insinuated the charges against Nelson's son would be dropped if she agreed. The Next Generation Action Network, a Dallas-based group that lobbies against police violence, posted the video on its Facebook page Wednesday on behalf of Nelson. A spokesman for the group, Dominique Alexander, said Nelson's phone was backed up to the cloud, which enabled her to let the group post the video. Cole, who also is an attorney for the Action Network, said the family wants the arresting officer, Chad Hanning, to be fired and charged with official oppression. It also wants the charges to be dropped against the 2 boys for any of the property to be returned, including Nelson's phone. This video is a full violation of police policy. They also unlawfully seized Miss Nelson's telephone. It's not illegal to film a police officer in this state, Cole said, adding the officer threatened to arrest her if she didn't turn over the phone. Now, I bring this up because the thing that bothered me was it appears as though if the officer did something wrong and it's on video, we'll let the charges go so nobody gets to see the video. So, Ross, you read it. I read it fast. You got the knowledge on it. Go over the details, what you think.
I mean, the basic gist is the police officers were acting unlawfully, and they agreed, and it was filmed by the mother's cell phone, and they agreed to drop the charges in exchange for the mother turning over the video, okay? And apparently that didn't happen because they played it online from the action group that's representing the mother and trying to get everything resolved. But it was on the cloud. She did turn over her phone, according to the thing. Again, we don't really know what happened. And I realize there's a lot of viewers out there. I don't really understand it. Now, let me start off by saying that a lot of times the law and the policies that we make do not follow fast enough with the advancement of technology. Okay, so a lot of the laws we have on the books have been on the books since, you know, the late 1800s, early 1900s, 1950s. Even if that's not even you know, recent enough for it to be caught up to speed as far as we're talking about with advances in technology. Right. And so a lot of times the laws are a little bit behind and we don't know how to deal with these kinds of scenarios, and the legislators don't really know exactly how to promulgate certain rules of how they should be applied by police officers and how the penal code is going to be enforced by prosecutors, law enforcement officers, as administrators, in many kinds of different aspects of life, because we're not sure how much more technology is going to continue to advance. And there's so many complaints that I have as when I'm talking about criminal defense lawyers as far as videos and things like that are concerned.
Well, can I ask you a question real quick? What is your opinion on the police having video cameras and the citizenry?
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Able to have cameras for video?
I have horror stories. Citizens, I know that a lot of people don't like when they see these news stories about folks out there filming police officers. It really gets under their skin. I don't know why. Okay, I hear a bunch of complaints, as you know, in my time in this business, everything from, well, agitation, aggression, intimidation, identity problems, interference, interruption, facility layout as far as terrorism type stuff is concerned, recruitment of Confederates, and we'll hit each one of those. So let's say agitation. So there's been some argument from the police that when people are recording with their cell phone around, that it agitates the person that's being arrested because they don't want to be taped. Or a lot of times, you know, they'll see the videotape and start kind of putting on a show. Okay, and so it kind of like gets in the way of what they're trying to do. That makes the situation harder for the police officers because it makes that person harder to deal with. Another one is the aggression standpoint. The police officers don't know who the people are that are filming. It feels like it's aggressive because they're kind of surrounded by people that are filming. It may make the defendants more aggressive. Okay, a lot of times these action groups are aggressive in their own right, and so they may be sitting there mouthing while they're also filming, and so that gets under the officer's skin. It makes the whole situation more aggressive.
And I can see that, yeah.
Okay, and then you have intimidation aspect, which kind of goes into the aggression when they're behind the police officers. The officers don't know who they are, and let's say you got sheriff's deputies, right? I respect sheriff's deputies probably a lot more than other law enforcement officers because sheriff's deputies have to go out into the county by themselves a lot of times, and so they'll have to get a call from a meth lab out there, go check something out. They're going back in the woods. I had a buddy in Arkansas. He's a sheriff's deputy. He'd come, man, I don't like going out there because I'm going to have to retire because they'll go out there in the middle of nowhere and be by themselves. So what if they're in the middle and it's just this sheriff's deputy, he's surrounded by a bunch of guys that knows trying to film it. Makes him nervous because he's not sure they're only recording. Okay, and then you have, like I was saying, recruiting Confederates. You could have somebody that was in a traffic stop or something that's really wants to get out of it because maybe they got warrants, and so they're going to text their Confederates, hey, we're down here on the start, come on, bring the weapons. Okay, maybe they didn't have armed, and so it would have been a safe situation where the Confederates are, you know, they're, in other words, their cohorts, their teammates, their conspirators, whoever you want to call them, gang members, to come up and help. The other situation is interruption. You know, it's interrupting to have people floating around, maybe talking or even trying to do this. I mean, you can see some of those scenarios. However, in general,
okay,
my opinion is why there's nothing wrong with this. Okay, I do see the complaints from law enforcement. I do understand, and I do think that there are certain cases, right, when these problems could come up. But I think on a general level, police officers, I don't understand why they get so upset when people do try to film them, and some of them do, and some of them don't. Some of them don't care. I think probably the majority don't care, but I think there's a lot of them that do, and I don't understand this. First of all, right, they're required to videotape every single traffic stop, so every stop is going to be videotape regardless. And if the people are already on scene, they're going to be there regardless. Okay, and so if they're filming, that makes no difference.
Well, you brought it up. I mean, all those factors that you brought in that gets an officer on the scene stressed, I totally can understand. You're human, okay? I agree, though. I think the camera is a valuable tool, and I think it's important. It's here to stay.
Right. And I'm going to tell you, so here it gets under my skin, and whew, okay, so when I do these traffic cases all the time, and so these counties and these police departments are required. They're required by state law to videotape every single traffic stop. Here in Milam County and Falls County, I'm not going after any specific official or anything. There's just certain cases that have just really gotten under my skin that get the exemption because they're not big enough, and so they're not it's basically like a financial exemption. They're not big enough to maybe afford. The legislature gives smaller counties an exemption of having to videotape every single one because maybe they can't afford video cameras in every single vehicle. Okay, otherwise you are supposed to videotape every single one, and they're supposed to make a good faith effort to do it anyway. Okay, regardless of how big the county is or not. But I understand that sometimes poorer counties have a hard time having an IT guy that's able to do all this stuff and make sure that every single tape runs smoothly and that there are no problems. I understand that, but it just happens to be that these videotapes don't work conveniently sometimes, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Okay,
and so and even though they're required to videotape this, right, we'll go in there and in the court, and I'll go to the judge and I'll say, and the police officer go up there and say one set of events that really doesn't make sense with the report and all this other stuff, and especially what my client's saying. And I'll tell the judge, he was required to videotape it. He had a body camera. Why didn't he turn his body cam on? Even if the car, so conveniently both don't work in this case, right? I mean, this is evidence that this is not a good stop, judge. And a lot of times, judges still go with what the police officers say, and it'll go up on appeal, and the appellate court will say, we're not required to videotape it. So you're not entitled to a dismissal just because they failed to videotape it. And it just irks you because people don't understand how often that this conveniently happens. Okay, and it does. Okay, but I'm not saying most of the time. I'm saying there are times though when it conveniently happens.
So how does somebody know at the moment, you think, that this particular time I'm not going to turn it on, whereas other times I do turn it on?
Exactly. That's what you should do it every time. And this is my point. You should do it every single time. And I have gotten several police officers to admit on the stand that these videos are for officer safety. These videos train other police officers. These videos keep officers from obtaining civil liability for doing something stupid. These videos help them investigate. I can't say some names, okay, but I've had tapes where we've come back and the tape has helped them prove their case. Okay, these tapes are important not only from the defense side but also from the offensive side. Mm-hmm. And they need to do it in every single case, and if they're required to do it in every single case, what's the difference in a citizen filming them too? So, and then you're in your own house. I've got a right to film anything I want to in my own house. Okay, and then we go back to Rick Dodd. We've talked about Rick Dodd before. He kind of helps with this show. He comes on every once in a while. He told a story a few months ago about, it's one of my favorite cases. I've used it. I'll say his name. Harold Weiser is a firearms dealer in Rosebud. I represented him with another great colleague, Clyde Chandler. We got, it was a situation where he drove by a police officer that was outside of his jurisdiction in Rosebud, given a traffic ticket, and when he drove by, they had already had a whole bunch of problems before this. It was a lot of animosity going on between him and the city council and this police officer, and he shot him the bird, hit the horn, and said, "You!" Okay, and so the police officer proceeds to say, "I'm not going to write you a ticket, sir," and then runs to his police car and tries to chase down Mr. Weiser, and pulls into his parking lot, and they have a little altercation. And the next morning, a SWAT team shows up at Mr. Weiser's place and arrests him, and with his wife scared to death. And then next thing we know, he's charged with like aggravated assault on a public servant or something like that. And that ended up getting no billed. I think Jody Gillen she's a good prosecutor. I think she had something to do with the way she presented that. But I think she was pressured too into finally eventually charging him with terroristic threat. And so then we came to, what is the First Amendment? What is the interference with the public duties? Rick talked about City of Houston versus Hill, and this case helped us win Mr. Weiser's case and get a not guilty there. Gosh, that was fun. He probably didn't care about me talking about his case. He was in the paper. He paid for the article. So anyway, City of Houston versus Hill, Rick Dodd talked about it, where Mr. Hill is tired of police officers in Houston in the Montrose area in the 80s when the gay rights movement was just getting really rolling forward, and this was a huge political, I think it's called eclectic portion within the Montrose area for the gay rights political scene, and a lot of officers there were enforcing this disorderly conduct statute by, arresting people when they probably shouldn't. And Mr. Hill comes over there and says, the officers arrest some guy. Mr. Hill says, "Hey, why don't you pick on somebody your own size?" And the police officer, "What?" And Mr. Hill runs in closer. "Yeah, I said, why don't you pick on somebody your own size? Why are you picking on this guy? It's wrong." He's arrested for disorderly conduct right there. A lot of people right off the bat and say, "You can't do that." Well, it was a not guilty verdict, and then he sued the city and all those county officials before enforcing that statute. It went all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court said that the freedom of individuals verbally to oppose or challenge police action without thereby risking arrest, right? Their ability to challenge police action without risking being arrested is the most principal aspect, right, which separates a free country from a police state. That is strong language from the United States Supreme Court, and they shot down the city ordinance in that case for the way they were enforcing it and applying it in Mr. Hill's situation and others like his. And so we know that just being around or even opposing a police officer is not enough to be unlawful. And even the disorderly conduct statute says speech is not enough. You can't just get them for speech. And so I think even conduct that is mostly speech oriented, okay, and presence at the scene is not enough for police officers to do this. So if you can already just be there and talk trash to a police officer, Now, obviously, these have limits too. If a police was trying to talk to a witness or something on the scene, you could you can't just sit there and yell so loud that he can't ever do any speaking. Okay, but at some point, just speaking and being an annoyance or some kind of interruption is not enough. And so, just being there, you have a right to do that, and you have a right to record. So, what is the problem?
You know, you keep talking and bringing all these things up, and everything that flashes in my head is where is the respect? Where's the respect? Where did it go that we got to this point about how people encircle the law enforcement, or law enforcement now has to have cameras and people got to film it because everybody's so scared of each other? Where did it come from?
Scared of each other. It's both ways though. Look, I'm sorry folks, police officers lie. Straight up. Police officers lie and about material stuff. But I love police. Look, hey, I'm just being real. That happens. There's bad people on both sides is what I'm saying.
There's always bad people.
Right, and there's police officers that go too far, and there's really good officers who just make a mistake and have a bad day.
That's right.
Okay, and so, like, people are scared of each other is the problem. Citizens are scared of the cops don't like the citizens. I mean, it's and I shouldn't say don't like, you know what I mean? We each have some kind of apprehension of the other. And I think it's the way society's going, and it's because some people are promoting big government, in my opinion.
That was my point. It was like back in the day when I was growing up, there was reverence and respect, and you want to be one, and all this kind of stuff. But in the course of time, with news events and how they push agendas of, I'm at a loss of words, but where you're causing angst against each other, and it just magnifies. And then with this day and age with technology, and everybody gets to see it, this attitude of resentment towards each other grows and grows and grows. And we need to reverse that somehow, and that is morality and just being nice people to each other. And so, but the camera is coming to play where we have to now witness that, no, they didn't do something wrong, or yeah, they did do it wrong, because you can't trust what people say anymore.
That's exactly, and so that's why people do film it. I don't know that it's a lot of lack of respect. I think there's some fear that their story is not going to be heard unless it's recorded. And how many times have I seen a traffic stop, okay, and the sound doesn't work? Right, I had a prosecutor 2 years ago. He's now gone. He's now a good defense lawyer in Waco. But he dismissed the case because the police officers walked over in the middle of the stop, doing like a DWI stop, talking to the guy. Police officers congregate over on the side of they say, hold on a second, to the defendant, right, or the accused, right, the allegedly accused. So then they go over to the side and they turn their mics off and they have a secret powwow. Dismissed. The prosecutor didn't like that, right, and he knew that the jury wouldn't like that either. And yeah, I didn't like it either. So why? Why would you do that? Why? What are you over there talking about that you're scared of everybody hearing? Okay, and it's the same thing with I'm at a loss of words. Open Carry, Texas. We talked about his case how many times? CJ, yeah, CJ Grisham's case. The police officers had a powwow that was off video that everybody was so concerned about, and it got everybody even more riled up. And so people are scared that their stories are not going to be heard. And for a lot of it, I don't blame them. Especially if you're a minority and already do not trust the police. I mean, when you look at it from that aspect, I mean, I'm totally understanding to that point of view. And I know some people aren't, but I'm sorry. If you've seen these things, if you're in the trenches, you realize that there is some shady stuff that goes on every once in a while. I'm not saying generally I think police get the right person. That's even my opinion. Okay, but
the problem is you've got a small percentage that gives an image of the whole entire group, which is a bad thing. It's like one bad apple spoils the whole batch.
Now, I think a lot of people are overcharged. I think a lot of people get charged for things that are worse than what they actually did. I think people overreact because people are so weak nowadays, or people are so scary, or so what we use the good term. Wimpified. I like that term too. So okay. Wimpified nowadays. I think you're right about that, and so I do think people are overcharged and people overreact, and it's just the whole system is just.
I don't know. I come from a point of view of, if an officer stops me, I'm in submission to the officer, because that's the respect I have for the law. If the officer does something wrong at the time, I will take it up at a later moment. But people got to stop, man. They just got to stop and have respect. If you don't like the person, you got to respect the badge. You got to respect what it stands for. It's like the flag, the American flag. People may say, wow, there's crazy stuff going on. It doesn't matter. The flag doesn't change what it represents. It's the people who are running the show are causing the problems, and get them out. The Constitution doesn't change what it says, but people pervert it and sort it for sordid gain. So you got to correct that. But the badge, the Constitution, the flag, Bill of Rights, they don't change. The respect and the honor is there for it. So the camera, when it comes back to the officer's camera and the cell phone from the citizenry, it's just to confirm that all's going well. We don't want to make it, we don't want animosity, we don't want resentment, we're verifying the facts.
And so when you're doing this, when you're recording, I'm not telling you not to record. I think if you want to record, sometimes it's a good decision, because it may be the only evidence that we have if it's one of these convenient situations where the police officer's body camera wasn't turned on. Mm-hmm. Okay, or the video, in-car video wasn't playing, and we have this exemption that says, oh well, we just didn't have an IT guy. So whatever, I think you should maybe record, but when you do so, right, I think what you said is true. You need to try to be as respectful as possible. You need to try to stay out of their way, right? Get the shots, but stay out of their way, because if you're being a physical obstruction, and I realize that a police officer can always say you're being an obstruction when you're on the scene, but when you're really being an obstruction, you're not going to have a good defense for just needing to record what's going on.
And the reason we brought all this up, or the reason I brought it up, was based on this article that I saw. It just showed that, like, hey, we'll drop charges if you give us that thing, because we don't want to look bad. I just thought that it left a bad taste in my mouth.
And police too, people understand, like, I see people's rights violated quite a bit, but what are you going to do? You're going to sue somebody? You're representing some criminal. In fact, he's guilty and his rights are violated. What jury is going to give him enough damages? And then government employees have this immunity. There's an immunity doctrine, so they're not even liable for a lot of things that happen. And then it's even harder to make a county, which has the deep pockets, right, pay for these things. I know we hear about counties and stuff getting sued, and oh my God, personal injury lawyers causing these big judgments and stuff. That may be part of the problem why we don't want to dismiss cases, because prosecutors are scared that, well, if I dismiss, that's going to give the guy a right to sue. Man, no jury's going to give a lot of these people that get their rights invaded, a damages judgment or something. So that's part of the issue.
I've only got about, Trey, how much time I got?
You got about a minute, 2 minutes.
All right, you got about 2 minutes. One thing I want you to do is just recap this very fast, and then I think there was something you want to say about last week's show.
Yeah, so we're talking. I think there's probably some First Amendment issues into recording police officers. If you record, just make sure that you are not really obstructing what they're doing, and so try to be respectful, like we were saying. But I do think you have a right to do it. There is no law preventing it. From last week, we talked about license to carry. I was asked a question. Well, what if we go to a park and we talked about you not being able to carry where there's a school event taking place? And you asked me a question, and you should have saw your face. Listeners should go watch the YouTube videos, because he looked at me like, man, you just copped out, because I didn't answer his question. He asked, well, what if I'm at a park, okay, and it's like the Blueberry Festival or whatever, Cotton Festival, whatever we have here too in Cameron. I'm just at a loss for words today, but and there happens to be like a school play or something going on while it's at this big festival. It's going to come down to school sponsored. I think the issue is going to be sponsored event on grounds where a school sponsored event is taking place. So if it's a city sponsored event and there just happens to be like a school activity, okay, I think that's going to be an issue. But I looked at you and I copped out, because there's no good answer. Okay, and I don't want to tell somebody, oh, well, yeah, just keep your gun, and the cop tries to take it, tell him, you! And I'm just like, and so I can't really answer the question. It is fact-based. And I want to say that the Texas Association of School Boards posted an article and said that a school-sponsored activity can be pick-up and drop-off times at the school, which contradicts what I was telling you about it's legal to go in the parking lot. I disagree, right, because the Attorney General opinion from 1995 mentions the legislative intent to make it not criminal. It says it is not supposed to be criminal for people to drop their kids off and be carrying while they do so. And so I disagree with pick up and drop off times, but that's where we're going in society. We want government to policy make on all that. I disagree, but I do want you to know it could be that, apparently, because the Associated School Board thinks so.
All right, Ross, you're on fire. Tell everybody one more time how they can get a hold of you.
Benton Watson, primary office location, 105 East Main here in Cameron. Number is 254-605-4140, 605-4140. My email address is my name, Benton@Watson.legal. Thank you, guys.
Awesome, man. Good job.